Welcome to the UIF Community Podcast. Before we get started, please keep in mind that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed are those of the individual presenters and do not necessarily reflect UIF Corporation or its affiliates.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the UIF Community Podcast. I'm your host, Omar Subhani. This is a podcast about Islamic finance, learning, and community news. We will discuss different pieces of economic and finance news each episode and how it may affect you personally, as well as discussing relevant topics in the Islamic finance industry. Lastly, we will share pertinent community news with you so you can be in the know. UIF is always looking to benefit our community in any way we can. This podcast is one of the ways we hope to bring benefit, inshallah. UIF is the leader in Islamic finance in the US. We currently offer Islamic home, commercial, and vehicle financing, as well as halal savings accounts. Please keep UIF in mind for your Islamic financing needs. You can find more information about UIF at myuif.com. I have my awesome co-hosts with me, Ijaz Hussain and Faraz Zaitar. Before I forget, if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to our show and like the episode so we can continue to spread the benefit to more and more people. Without further ado, let's get into today's discussion. Ijaz, we have some big news that came out this last week in terms of workers' rights and non-competes. I know you have a lot of thoughts on that and opinions on that, having some personal experience with non-competes. So we'll get into that in a second. But I did want to, see if you had any pertinent updates that have come out in the last week or two in terms of economic news generally that you feel is worth sharing.
Yeah, well, assalamu alaikum, everybody. Just wanted to just say today's recording date, May 8th, 24. Why that's pertinent? Because when I talk about economic updates, people I know with podcasts, sometimes I go back and listen to podcasts in the past 2 years ago, whatever. So thoughts I'm reflecting today on economic update is based on May 8th, 2024. So that's a good question. Not a lot has changed since I believe the intro recording we did earlier. And basically, as I said, rates have risen very rapidly over the last year and a half, 2 years, mostly having to do with inflation. I mean, excessive money printing that the government did. It really has changed the rules of the game, if you will. The economy is running hot, extremely hot, some would argue. Unemployment rate is below 4%. Both inflation and the GDP, readings are coming above trend. So you have the Fed is in a way stuck, basically. They want to lower rates. They want to do that to basically, keep to help the economy and help Main Street, if you will, right, by lowering costs of borrowing for auto or for credit cards and so forth. But at the same time, they can't because inflation is running about 3.5% annually, and they want to target about a 2% inflation rate. So they're kind of stuck in a quagmire, if you will, and it is what it is. So not a whole lot of change. Inventory continues to be an issue on the real estate side, as we all see in the at UIF. I mean, we are as you already mentioned, the leader in Islamic financing space, and we do a lot of home financing business in 30 different markets. And readings are pretty much similar. I mean, affordability is an issue. A lot of younger people are having a hard time buying a home because the rates in general, interest rates with conventional lenders, our profit rates also, they're running higher than in the last 2 years. So for younger couples or millennials, Gen Z, it's hard for them to buy a home. They need to save a lot more for down payment. That's a challenge. And mainly it's the inventory issues where people who have lower mortgage rates that they bought homes at or refinanced at in the last couple of years, they're not moving. So these challenges have to slowly abate over time. But net, not a whole lot. Just a quick summary of the market, and we're hoping that as we roll deeper into second quarter, that things will improve both in terms of pricing, profit rates going down, as well as inventory improving. So, Umar, that's kind of like sort of the general overview of the market. I don't know if you want to add something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't honestly. I think you're definitely right. I mean, not a lot has changed. We had our first recording a couple of weeks ago, end of April, so not a whole lot's changed, just like you said. But this banning of non-competes, that is big news, right? So I wanted to read from the FTC announcement here, where they announced their banning of non-competes, and the Federal Trade Commission, they said today, and this was on April 23rd, so this is a few weeks ago. Today, the Federal Trade Commission issued a final rule to promote competition by banning non-competes nationwide, protecting the fundamental freedom of workers to change jobs, increasing innovation, and fostering new business formation. Non-compete clauses keep wages low, suppress new ideas, and rob the American economy of dynamism, including from the more than 8,500 new startups that would be created a year once non-competes are banned, said FTC Chair Lina M. Khan. The FTC's final rule to ban non-competes will ensure Americans have the freedom to pursue a new job, start a new business, or bring a new idea to market. So that's the announcement from the FTC, a couple of weeks ago, and obviously this kind of sent shockwaves through the financial world. Obviously, workers had a very different opinion about this ruling than a lot of business owners, CEOs, a lot of the talking heads on TV, especially. So, Ijaz, kind of help us through here. What should our listeners be aware of here? I guess the pros and cons maybe of this, or how people are looking at it in the financial world.
Yeah. So, Umar, it seems like good ideas come out of the government because of certain things that happen, and then those good ideas turn into bad ideas if they're abused. And this, I think, falls in that. The idea of having non-compete agreements where an employer has a right to protect its strategic assets it makes sense, right? I mean, initially the idea was to protect trade secrets. So if you work for an engineering company and you're working on a project where it's high level, secrets, trade secrets, and some proprietary technologies going in, that makes sense. You want to protect that. Every employer has the right to protect that. Same thing with confidential business information. No worker should be able to take something, steal something, and go benefit someone else with that. That makes sense. But this went a little haywire, in my humble opinion, and I personally, had to deal with this issue. I think going back 5 to 6 years ago, when one of my past employers had sued me for leaving them to come join UIF, and it played out firsthand, going through very expensive ordeal, going through the court system and a full trial, and spending over $1 million in legal fees and court costs, etc. Didn't make any sense. I was a VP sales, but it's, at the end of the day, it was Islamic financing. You're basically trying to help people buy homes, and it wasn't very complicated. There was no engineering involved here, so trying to hold on to people, even if you can make their situation miserable, but holding on to them, because in the beginning any employee signs whatever you give them. Most employees, they want a job, you give them a piece of paper, employer has all the cards in their hand, they give you an agreement and say, hey, go ahead and sign this. Most employees sign it. They need a job. They don't read carefully. Most people don't read, period. So they sign these non-compete agreements, and then you know that you're hooked. You can't go anywhere, because now you can't leave them. You can't join another employer, and you're miserable. And if you leave, you can't go work within your chosen industry. You got to go find a job and maybe work wherever else for a year, 2 years, 3 years, come back. So I think it was very heavily abused by the employers, because at the end of the day, every employment contract is at will. In theory, you can leave your job anytime you want. Employer can fire you anytime you want if you don't meet certain employment guidelines or expectations and so forth. But this thing completely went haywire, and I'm so glad. I mean, I'm very happy for Sister Lina Khan to really get this through. And bottom line, just to summarize, April 23rd was the ruling came out that FTC basically banned non-compete agreements, and it's supposed to go into effect 120 days from now, so sometime in August. Bottom line, couple of another notes on this is employers cannot prevent or penalize employees from working for a competitor now. Employers will have to send employees a notice. So whoever any employer that made their employees sign this at when they got hired, they now have to send a written notice to these employees saying that you no longer will be this non-compete will no longer be enforced. So I think it's a very positive move. There are some exceptions to this. One is the if you're a senior level existing executive. And they're calling it senior level, and that's a very vague term. I mean, even I was struggling. Like, what is a senior executive? What is that? What is that a particular title, or what does that mean? They only said, making 151,164. I don't even know how they came up with that number. What is 151,164 mean?
Yeah.
Why not 163? Why not 165? So I don't know how government arbitrarily comes up with these numbers, but they said any senior level executive making 151, 164 who is currently part of this non-compete, they will not be eligible for this. But any new ones coming, it won't be enforced on them. It also does not apply to business sale arrangements. So, Umar, if I sold you bought my company out, and I'm coming to you, and you tell me, hey, listen, as part of you buying my company, you can go create another similar company in the next 3 years. Those are fine too. That's an exemption, and that makes total sense, because you can't sell a company to me, or I can't sell a company to you and then go start another competitor. So that makes sense, and it doesn't apply to that. But as usual, anything in this country, not everybody sees it. Lawsuits are flying already. There are 2 lawsuits already filed in the state of Texas. So a lot has to, movies still being played out, if you will. We're going to see, but it's an amazing first step, and I'm very happy that FTC has decided to make this move.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it was huge news when it came out. I think we kind of all saw that coming, though. At least those who were following it when the FTC first announced it a while back, that they were looking into banning non-compete. So not entirely surprising, but definitely still, has an enormous effect on so many different parts of the economy and different industries. So, but yeah, just curious about the 151, 100,000 rule. I guess that's more, my guess is just to try to help out, especially like people who are just starting off their careers, like more freedom of movement, especially for younger people who might be tied into these non-competes, and trying to help them out. And then they do in their announcement, they do kind of outline, alternatives to non-competes that are less burdensome on employers, and still get the job done in terms of protecting, company secrets, right? So non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, trade secret laws already in place. So we'll see how this plays out. I'm sure we're going to return to this topic in future episodes, inshallah, and we'll see how it turns out, because I think there's going to be obviously a ton of lawsuits that are going to go into effect in about 100 days or so. So we'll see how that plays out.
Also, I think, Omar, at the end of the day, listen, I think all of us, not only on this call as podcast hosts, but also our listeners, probably will agree that common sense non-competes, we can all agree to. I mean, if it makes sense, yes. But the courts are so tied up in these silly lawsuits where one employer is suing the other one for mid-level, junior-level employees, because they left their job to go join somebody else, and it just takes up the court's time, money, valuable resources. So I think at the end of the day, I'm extremely happy that once this thing it goes into effect, it's going to really free up a lot of the court's time to focus on more important issues, that govern our society, as opposed to fighting out with the employers about who goes where, what, etc. Within reason, I think it's all going to make more sense over the years, I think. So yeah,
definitely does. Yeah, Farah, any thoughts on that before we move on to the next topic?
I was never into non-competes, and usually any company I work for, if I see a non-compete, personally, I wouldn't want to sign with them, just because that does limit job opportunities. So
Definitely.
I'm
I think that's
so
one of the things, Farah,
happy.
right? Yeah. Go ahead and finish.
I'm so happy that honestly they're not going to be around anymore. I know people are going to try to enforce some of them, but that's actually really great news. Opens up more opportunity.
I think, Omar, one of the things that is very important to people, listeners, UIF as a company, we've never, even though some of our competitors have used non-competes, we have never, because we feel, the ropes of love, respect, affection are a lot stronger than these non-compete agreements. If you treat your employees well, you treat them with respect, love, care, affection, they're not going anywhere anyways. And our experience has shown us that hey, you take care of your people, they take care of customers, everybody's happy. The only companies truly who try to hang on to their employees with these non-compete agreements, it's because they don't want them to go, because they treat them like crap. They want to keep them there in most cases, and this is a way they make them into slaves, because it's not easy to get rid of these non-competes, and no employee wants to get sued. And so our philosophy as a company, and again, for future people who want to join UIF, keep in mind we have no non-competes, and we want to keep you here because you want to stay here, and not because of some silly non-compete.
That is true, and I think just my final word on that is, the sad reality is that these non-competes are just kind of thrown into these employment contracts. They're never discussed. I don't think a lot of these employers even mention it to the to the candidate that, oh yeah, we have a non-compete. I mean, because like Fado was saying, like, sometimes they do disclose it, or you might find it in the paperwork, but like Ajaz, you were alluding to, there's a lot of people who sign employment agreements when they're just going through the HR process. And, they're just signing. They're not really reading anything. They're just like, okay, I'm excited for my new job. And then they find out later things don't work out. Oh my God, like I'm tied here and I'm stuck here and I can't even really go work in the field of choice that like maybe I got my degree in, or, multiple degrees in, et cetera, training and all these things. And now you're kind of stuck. And it's, we've heard so many horror stories, unfortunately, of this scenario. It's really just terrible. So hopefully it leads to better good, inshallah. So. Moving on. Ajaz, this is what we're waiting for, man. Book review time, baby. Psychology of money.
Yeah,
that sounds good. What's this about?
So, as we alluded in the first, if people have not heard the first episode of a community podcast, I think you should go listen to that, because not only do we do our own introductions, but one of the things I talked about is I take great pride in reading nonfiction books, successful business leaders, best practices, ideas on investments, and things of that nature. I also was privileged to work, start my career working with UBS Asset Management and Solomon Smith Barney, that was bought up by Morgan Stanley. So I spent time working with Wall Street firms. I did a lot of work in the wealth management area, and when the dot-com bubble burst, I was actually right there in the catbird seat, living it, basically, right, the whole thing. And since then, actually before that also, I've been an astute reader, at least 1 to 2 books a month on different topics. And the topic of money, investing, stocks, it's been very close to my heart. And I've spent about 30 years reading, researching this topic. And one of the books I wanted to cover today, and in the future as well, we're going to cover different books on different topics written by different money managers or autobiographies, etc. But this book today is one of my favorites. It's called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And the I guess the best way to describe the main theme or lesson of this book is, financial success is not about raw intelligence, but about behavioral skills. So again, financial success, not about, it doesn't matter how smart you are, how intelligent you are, but what you do with what you've learned. And your behavioral skills will play a big part in your success or failure. Expanding on that, basically, our quirks, our life experiences will shape our financial behavior. So emotions like fear, greed, pride, envy, and social comparisons, trying to compare with the Joneses, as we say, right? It'll make you less wealthy and unhappy over time. So when you start relying on these emotions, again, being fearful at the wrong time, being greedy at the wrong time, thinking yourself you're very smart, and the pride because you had a couple of you bought Nvidia, it went up, and now you think you're a genius. Now every stock you buy is going to go higher. It doesn't work that way. Being envious that, hey, my buddy made a lot of money on this particular stock, went and bought a Lamborghini or whatever, and now you want to do that too. it's not as simple as that. You have to have your own a playbook, your own plan of attack. That's what the book is talking about, why that is important. Another thing it talks about is the luck and timing, how much role a luck plays, and then being at the right place at the right time. And he uses a great example. He talks about how people who went through the depression in 1929, 1930, when they got completely wiped out, 80% stock market down, and that experience shaped their future investing experience. They stopped investing. Banks were failing, stock market got destroyed. So most of them never went back and invested again because they never trusted the market again. So your experience, and then similarly, if you came into the market last 10, 15, 20 years, the markets have just mostly gone up and up and up. In essence, basically, you invest very differently accordingly. So bottom line, many things go into this, and you have to be mindful of these things. So that's sort of the opening summary, Umar. They have a few key takeaways that I wanted to get into, but I don't know if you and Farhad had any comment on what I've covered so far.
Yeah, I really read the part about just your joke about Nvidia, but just in general, I think since 2020, you may not be seeing this as much as I, because you're a bit of a more savvy investor. I'm a much more young, Gen. I don't even know what generation. What do they have now? Millennial, Gen X. I don't know which one I fit into now, but in any case, people of my generation, generally like 30s, 40s, you have a lot of new investors, guys into Bitcoin and all that other stuff, and they saw a lot of money popping for them, during the pandemic and that type of thing. So that whole money psychology thing, so important, I think, for a lot of people to understand that, what long-term investing is, and just getting lucky is one thing, right? And then just being smart and diligent is a whole other thing, right? So that's kind of the part right there you were mentioning kind of resonated.
Yeah. And Farah might have a whole different opinion because she's even younger than you and I.
That is true. Yeah.
Her friends are all into crypto and fast millionaires. So Farah, what is your take on this is investing topic, so to speak?
I know a lot of my friends that actually got into crypto and became very rich. For me, though, personally, it was more about mentality. I was always happy for them. And I know that I decided to go a different route with investing. And how I think about it is I believe that the mental aspect of it is very more important about how I view money versus people that are greedy and they just want to make money out of thin air. Luck does have something to do with it, but it's also, I believe, it's all mental as well, how you perceive money. So, uh, my friends that are in crypto, they're rich, but a lot of them also wasted all that money. So,
Well, they're rich today.
they're
The
rich
game's
today,
not over
tomorrow
yet.
they're
Yeah,
not.
tomorrow they might be poor. But yeah, we wish them well. See, my 30 years of doing this, right? I have lived it all. I got started investing in 95. You couldn't buy a stock back in 95, 96 that wasn't going up. So my initial view of the stock market was, oh, all you do is you buy tech stocks, anything with a .com behind it, and you make money. And that's how I invested. And that was a great strategy, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000. And then when it all came crumbling down from 2000 to 2003, I lost it all. So I literally got financially lost it all. It was just one of the most painful experiences of building the wealth and losing it at the same time. But that sort of framed my own narrative and how I want to invest going forward. How much risk am I willing to take? And you also take different risk at different time. If you're in your 20s, 30s, you can risk and you have time to recover. But when you start getting your 50s and 60s, you just don't have that luxury to risk it all and go for broke, if you will, because you will end up getting broke if you make too many mistakes. So there's a lot of factors in this, but I wanted to go into some of the other key takeaways from this book, and some of these are tried and true, and a lot of the books cover this different ways. But one of the first points he makes in this book is making money versus keeping money. two different skill sets. Some of us can be really good at making money, and I have a lot of doctor friends, very close friends, who I meet for casual dinners and stuff. And I'm so surprised that a lot of these doctors sit there just because they, and I'm not trying to pick on doctors by any means. That's not what my point is. These are my personal friends and stuff. Some of them are also lawyers and other professions. But it's amazing to me how they literally, just because they're very intelligent and they've done great in the medical field, somehow they think that they can be similarly intelligent in the investment side. I asked, so they'll ask me, so what are you buying? I'm like, anything I buy is boring. I said, I'm not the guy you should be asking what I buy, because I buy boring stuff. I'm not looking to hit home runs. But they all talk about Nvidia and Tesla and this and that and the other. And I'll ask them a couple of basic questions. Well, what is Nvidia's profit margin? They don't know. What is Nvidia revenues? Oh, I don't know. What is the projected growth rate for the next 5 years? I don't know. And then you're buying Nvidia and you're putting in $100,000 into a stock that you don't know anything about because your friends are buying it. This is where the problems start happening, right? So we have to be very mindful and careful that just because we may be really good at making money, it's a different skill set to keep money. So a lot of it is it talks about, and I've read books about how a janitor, started working at 22 for a school district, and he never made more than, I believe, 30,000 his entire life. But when he died, this person had like $6 million because the money he saved, he invested wisely and let it compound over time. And eventually those stocks went on to become, obviously he was lucky as well because he picked the right stocks, and eventually became a millionaire. So making money versus keeping money was a discussion. The second point the author made was about compounding profits. Don't go in and out of the market. If you have some good investments, stay in it for a while. Just if you buy and sell at the wrong time, it's not going to help you. So let the money compound if you are in the right investments. The third topic of the book was about a lot to do about luck versus risk, how both are two sides of the same coin. One of the things in Warren Buffett's book, I remember reading, he talked about, one of the reporters asked him one time, Mr. Buffett, what would you say was one singular thing that made you successful? And I love the answer. Warren Buffett, the most successful investor of our time, arguably, he mentioned that he won the ovarian lottery. And the reporter says, well, what do you mean you won the ovarian lottery? He said, I was born in the right place at the right time to the right set of parents who were caring. They gave me all the resources. I was able to go study at the library, research, look at value line reports. And that gave me a head start, gave me a huge advantage. And that has to do with luck. If you're born in a terrible situation, abusive parents, etc., then your life can go off the rails, if you will. So he talked. So that luck and risk, is it's very important. And one of the things the author says, and I really agree with this, he mentioned that when you accept that sometimes you were lucky, and you accept luck was what played a role in where you are, who you are, you become more humble and you become more compassionate to others as well. And I think that's a very, very good point the book makes. I mean, Omar, you happen to send a resume. I happen to be hiring at UIF. I happen to be in Florida, and you and I met over samosas for an interview. And I'm so happy you came into my life. And I think that in a way, that connection at the right time and being lucky for maybe two of us change lives and trajectories and careers and so forth. So that's what I'm getting at with that. You know what I'm saying?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's one of the things that you don't often hear. That's one of the unique things I think about Warren Buffett too, is that he kind of owns up to that, right? That it's not that, I'm just a genius and I was able to do all these investments, and he talks about it openly about his failures as well in investing. He doesn't have a whole lot of them, but he definitely has had misses and things like that. And like you said, my own career in Islamic finance, a decade now at UIF, alhamdulillah, has been amazing, and I can't really be more grateful. But also at the same time, I have to recognize that really didn't have much to do with it, in the sense that I wasn't looking to be in Islamic finance. I was kind of a weird period in my life, and trying to find a career and get started somewhere. And, just like you said, I was actually looking to buy a house, and, luck plays a huge part in it, just in opportunities, doors open that you don't really have any control over. But there's that saying where it's I think opportunity is or like success is where opportunity and preparation meet, right? So it's or that's what luck is, or something like that. I forget what the exact saying is, right? But kind of the idea is that you have to be prepared, at least do your part, being prepared to take on an opportunity if it presents itself, right? So that's I think where a lot of it comes from in terms of like people's own success is that you just got to be ready. You never know when that door is going to open for you or where it's going to open from, and it may not be where you're expecting from, but if it does come, just be ready for it. You never know what can happen. It could be the best opportunity of your life. So.
I mean, my own personal, I'm so humbled, and I completely, what I'm saying is, I recognize luck played such a big part of my life. And it's humbling to a lot of success that I have enjoyed is because sometimes I have just purely been lucky. For example, I was in Bahrain, in the Middle East. My family was living there. I had finished high school, and after high school in Bahrain, you had to go either you can go back to India to start college, or you can go to UK or US. And me and my friend applied for a US visa to come study here, and then his visa was accepted, going to North Carolina. Mine got rejected, and I was like, you know what? Heck with it. I don't care about the US. I'm going to go to UK and go with my studies over there, or maybe go to India for a few years and then go from there. But then my time was expiring almost to even come to the US, and my mom just happens to meet a family friend at a dinner party, and she mentions this center of influence or very successful businessman in Bahrain, and she mentions like, listen, my son is trying to apply, but he got rejected. Do you know anyone? Is there any way we can get a second interview? And he said, let me make a call. I know Ajaz. I'm going to make a call on his behalf, see if we can get a second interview. He got me the second interview, and it just so happened the second interviewer liked my answers or whatever, and then I was able to come to the US and then begin my journey here, and I've spent the last 40 years of my life over here, I guess. But again, it all just, so many things happen, and we have to get lucky. Besides hard work, these things definitely play a role for us. Farah, do you have anything that you can prescribe to luck that changed your trajectory or anything? Or
It's actually right before I actually came to UIF, I just decided to stop working at the dental office. Completely different field, even though it's both still finance. And it's just luck have it. One of my friends, of course, she's like, hey, they're hiring, come in for an interview. And that's how I got started. I never thought I would actually leave my previous job, but I wanted to grow a lot more I wanted a lot more growth than they were able to provide. And as luck have it, one door closed, another one opened. So
we're happy to have you here. So,
I still remember the interview with you. I still remember that interview.
No, that's awesome.
As you brought up the lunch we had when you were interviewing me, and I just want the readers to know that Ijaz's very unique set of skills in terms of ordering things from a menu. He ordered something I have yet to see still on a restaurant menu. It was shrimp. Was it shrimp pakoras or shrimp samosa? I can't remember which one it was, and I was like, I don't even know how this is or why this is on the menu. But we ordered it. It was pretty good, but I've yet to still see that 10 years later at any other restaurant. So I just wanted to mention that.
Well, I was surprised to see it on the menu too, and because I love shrimp, I'm like, bring it on. So we ended up doing the interview over shrimp pakoras and mango lassi, I think it was. So it was a great interview. I'm going to quickly go over the last couple of points of this book, and then we'll start wrapping it up. But the fourth point the book makes, a larger point, is failure and errors are inevitable. So, and this is, again, I keep telling our team on our sales calls and stuff that you have to. One of the ways you get completely wiped out monetarily and psychologically is if you fall to a scam. And scams usually happen where you try to overreach. You get greed takes over. Somebody promises you, uh, in the market you can get 5% return on something, but I'm going to give you 15% return on something, and then you go to that untested people. You don't know who they are, and you invest your money with them, and then they run away. So these scams. In Chicago, I personally saw this firsthand when a company called Sunrise Equities, they opened their offices on Devon under the very much of a religious guise that we do everything Sharia, and we're a very religious group, and the local scholar was part of that group, and all of this. They raised over $30 million, and one night just ran away with the money. And a lot of the people in the community had invested their money, hard-earned money. People like cab drivers and nurses and this and that. So this Muslim community was tremendously harmed. And who was harmed? The people who didn't have much money. People giving away their 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 in savings, taking out their home equity, giving it to these people. And this person and his brother, and I don't know who else was part of it, but they just disappeared overnight with all that money, right? So still to this day, I see the effects of that because I run into some of the people who invested with them. They do not invest. They don't trust anybody. Psychologically, they're devastated more, I would argue, than the money part of it. So you have to avoid those scams. And I tell our listeners that be very careful. You can't have that happen to you. Number two, you have to minimize your risks as much as you can. So diversify. Don't have to put all your money in one or two big investments and hit the home run. Or have multiple positions. So even if one goes out and you miss, you have the opportunity to make it back on something else. So those failure errors are going to happen, but the author talks about you have to be smart about it. And lastly, he talks about what is the end goal, right? What is the end goal for all of us? Number one, it's about achieving financial freedom. Why are we working? We're working because at some point we won't be able to work. Either health, death, tragedy, whatever it is. Something's gonna old age, retirement. Something's gonna take you out of the game, the full time working game, and until then, you have to work towards achieving that financial freedom. So, number one goal is achieving financial freedom. So to get there, you have to do two things. Number one, make investments where you can sleep well at night. Okay, if something is keeping you up at night, that's a problem itself. If you buy a stock, it's a very large position, it starts going down. If you can't sleep, that's a problem. Immediately sell it down to a level where you can get to that. And I've had many sleepless nights because I made those mistakes before, and I've gone through that. I don't want to go through it again. Second, save and invest wisely. You can't live your life paycheck to paycheck or exceeding your paycheck. You have to live where you can put aside some money and then invest it wisely, because at some point, again, you will not be able to work. You won't have the energy. You should be able to, then use that capital to survive. So achieving financial freedom using these two approaches are extremely important. A couple of quotes the book has, and I'm a big quote guy. You guys know that I share quotes all the time. So two quotes in the book that particularly appealed to me. Number one was, it said, planning is important, but the most important part of every plan is to plan on the plan not going according to plan. Basically, what? Have a plan B. You can't just be going into anything. I mean, even the most little things I work on, projects or even going out I'm in Chicago, going out and the weather is cooler, I take a jacket. What happens? Weather is nice now. What happens if you have a car accident or something? You'll be out on the street in the cold weather. Unlike my daughters who don't believe in going around with jackets, and I keep telling them have a plan B. I believe in a plan B. Always be ready. Something doesn't go to plan. What do you do next? So this is an important quote that illustrated. And the second and last quote that I wanted to share with everybody is, things that have never happened before happen all the time. Things that have never happened before happen all the time. Who would have thought we'd go through a COVID, a pandemic? I mean, can we really, 2019, would we ever think and imagine that we'd all be walking around with like masks on our faces and thousands of people dying around us in this day and age of medicine? No, but it happens, right? So things will happen that you never expect, never happened before. So always be prepared and plan. So that's sort of the nutshell of the book, Omar. Hopefully our listeners get some benefit out of it, and hopefully they tell other people and friends about this podcast. Hopefully more people can read and benefit. And that's the whole point here. We're doing this as a value added to benefit the community. That's why it's called the community podcast. And we want to bring more books and more interesting articles that we think can benefit the community. So with that said, I'll hand it back to you, Omar.
Yeah, thank you, Ajaz. I think that's extremely helpful. I think these are, often overlooked, aspects of money. I think it's one of those things that people are sometimes uncomfortable to talk about, even like within family and friends, just because they feel judgment or they want to try to, have some bravado, showing off that, hey, I'm good with money and that type of thing. And, a lot of people kind of shy away from taking real solid advice. And some of the best financial advice I've gotten, just like you alluded to earlier, Jazz, it's boring. Just you invest and you just leave it alone. And for me, being somewhat of a novice investor, last 10 years of my life, having a career and investing money is just you put it away and you forget about it. You maybe check it once or twice a year, and that's been the best financial advice I've gotten. I've gotten into trouble when I've tried to get into get rich quick schemes and those type of things. Those usually don't work out, right? So that's why I'm usually hesitant. I'm pretty conservative when it comes to money, in the sense that I'm going to put it somewhere where it makes sense, that I'm not going to lose money and that type of thing. And I think that's probably the best approach for most people, especially the average person.
Well, that's a little different than my approach. Whatever I invest, I think that I lost so that I don't even touch that money. Really bad mentality, but it works.
I think, Farah, this book is for you.
It's basically I lost it and just let it go.
Farah, I think you used up all your bad luck, so a lot of good is coming your way, I'm thinking, in the next
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
All right. Well, no, appreciate it, Ajaz. I think our listeners will benefit from that. And we'll put a link in our description as well, where they can purchase the book. I'm sure they can just Google it online as well, but we'll put a link in there. Those who are looking to purchase the book, and we also have our webinars. I think once or twice a year, where Ajaz does a book review on a book that he's really passionate about, and we've had some really big audiences for that. So people reaching out and hey, is this recorded? Want to hear it again, and that sort of thing. So Ajaz is fantastic with the book reviews. So looking forward to more of those in the future, inshallah. So I did want to, before we wrap up that section, do we, Ajaz, Farah, any final comments on psychology of money, or are we good to go?
Good to go.
Good to go.
Sounds good. Okay, so Farah, we kind of touched on the vehicle financing, right? So that's kind of new at UIF. We've been doing it for about maybe a year or two now, in a few states, and we're in Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, coming soon to Texas, inshallah. Can you kind of give our listeners a little bit of an overview of what the process is? Me and you were talking about this a little earlier, but I was actually really surprised by you telling me how fast the whole process is. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Of course, Omar. So vehicle finance is actually a very simple process. It's based on an installment sale contract. So we go ahead, help you buy the car, and then you will go ahead and repay it over 3, 4, or 5 years, depending on the contract, with profit on top of it. It is a fairly quick process. People with credit above 660, and then we look at your income, and then we're able to get you pre-approved. In most occasions, we do say 24 to 48 hours from beginning to end, from starting application all the way to closing. But alhamdulillah, we've been able to go ahead and close within the same day, as long as all the criteria is met. So if you guys are looking for more information, you can always visit our website and submit a form, and then one of me or one of my colleagues will be able to actually contact you guys. We're very quick about that, and then we'll be able to get you started.
That's
Part of
awesome.
the beauty, if I can add one point, I think I love the simplicity of this product. We launched it; it's been hugely successful thanks to Farah and her teammates and the auto financing division over there. And this is people always when I run, they ask me, "Hey, how's this installment sale program?" And I tell them this is very simple, right? You buy a car, you identify a car, you like the car, it's $10,000. We buy it for you. That's why we raise money from our community in the form of savings accounts, deposit accounts, and it's basically community helping community over here. That's what it comes down to. So when our community invests with us in our savings account, deposit accounts, and as Farah and Omar talked about the website, you can request information from there. But we raise capital, we use that capital to buy the car. Let's say the buy car is $10,000 and you want to buy it in 5 years. Simple example, add $2,000, you buy it for 12,000, payable over time in monthly installments. I just love the simplicity of this and how it's structured, and in the amount of the community support. I mean, we opened 3 states, and we can't keep up with the amount of requests and the volume. What we've been able to do, and just the community supporting both ways. We share profits with our community through our deposit savings accounts. Obviously, accounts have to be opened at University Bank because this is a banking product. It's FDIC insured, but the money is used purely for our auto financing, home financing programs. But net, it's a win-win for the community, raising community money through the community, investing in financing programs for the benefit of our community, and everybody sharing in the profits. So thank you, Farah, for you and your team, and just for all the hard work you guys do. So appreciate that.
Oh,
Of
so
course.
I gotta ask Farah though. Farah, I'm hearing some
Yes.
rumors about some cars that we've financed. Can you give me
Oh,
like our top three? What are the top three coolest cars UIF has financed so far?
I actually have more than three. I recently helped finance a Lamborghini. It
Woo!
is a beautiful car. We also financed a Cybertruck.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know those are
Tesla,
new.
Cyber. Oh, wow, impressive.
Yeah, we financed a Cybertruck. We financed a few Corvettes. Porsche, of course, the brand new Porsches that are coming out. Honestly, the prices of cars have increased from a few years ago. So all these cars we are able to finance. We do say that we finance between 5,000 up to 100,000, but as you can tell, the Lamborghini is way over 100,000. We are able to get exceptions for that. So we try to cater to all of our community members based on what they can afford and what they would like to drive. But I would say those are my top three.
That's a pretty good top three.
Actually, no, no,
Lamborghini
no.
is
I lied. Hold on, hold on. My third one would be the Mercedes G Wagon. That's a
wow.
air
Okay.
type of car thing.
Those are some
Uh,
pretty fancy. Are you test driving these just to make sure they're safe, Farah?
you know something? I feel like we should make like a rule that says I have to test drive it just to make sure.
If that's the case, I'm gonna ask Ajaz to move me over to the auto.
Can you just imagine?
Right, that
If
would
you
be
have to
fun.
bring it down.
That's really exciting. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So it's a very exciting product. I'm very thankful and grateful that we are actually able to even provide this for our community members because honestly, I've heard from a lot of them that they don't even have Islamic financing available to them, and they're just very grateful towards it. So, inshallah, many more states are coming. Looking forward to Texas. That one's going to be one of our biggest ones.
Yes, soon,
It's
inshallah.
coming soon, guys. I promise.
I can't wait to finance my wife a minivan down the road. She's gonna be so
So,
excited.
Farah, just to clarify, right now
Yes.
we do Illinois, Ohio, and Michigan.
Yes.
The auto financing available in these 3 states as of May 2024, and then Texas should be coming soon, and then more states to follow. Am I correct on that, or
Yes, you are correct.
good? Thank you.
No problem. You have to be a resident of those 3 states, but of course, they can buy the car from anywhere in the U.S. I have to put that disclaimer in there.
Excellent.
That's true. No, good to know. Definitely a good point to bring up. All right, guys. Do we got any closing comments? Farah, I'll start with you.
Well, this podcast has been very informative, I guess the word would be. If you guys do have any more questions about auto finance or any of other products that we offer, we'll be more than happy to help. I think Omar is going to give you guys the website again, and I look forward to the next time.
Sounds good. Ijaz bhai?
Yeah. Well, so the only thing I want to wrap with is, this is for the community benefit, and I'm very excited to present these ideas because I look at it as a form of giving back. If I can read and learn from experts and intellectuals in different fields, I love sharing this because it's a way of making our community, empowering our community, giving them information, keeping it entertained, informative, and it's all about giving back, and that's what I'm excited about. That's it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you, Ijaz. Thank you, Farah. So to wrap up our episode today, I just want to let all of our listeners know, inshallah, you can find out more information about UIF, all the services that we offer. If you go to www.myuif.com, we have all of our information there, FAQ pages, fatwas, everything is posted there. Super transparent. That's what we're about. Want to make sure that you're comfortable making your financing decisions with a reputable company. And that's why we don't cut any corners when it comes to Sharia financing, approvals, etc. All of that is done with the utmost attention to detail and with the top scholars in the field of Islamic finance. So again, myuif.com. If you could do us a big favor, like our episode, share our podcast with your friends and family, would be huge. We're just starting off this podcast. We really want to be able to continue this for a long time and benefit all of our community listeners who are out there, inshallah. Thank you guys so much for listening. And until then, wish you all the best. Assalamu alaikum.